I touched a ship that only answered to royal blood, and it answered to me. One second I was just a human consultant, the next I was standing at the center of a legacy powerful enough to fracture an empire. A blue-skinned commander with long ears stared at me in disbelief while her soldiers decided whether to kneel or shoot. Ancient systems whispered my name like they had been waiting centuries. The only problem: I wasn't supposed to belong to any throne. The docking platform trembled with a low, patient vibration, the kind that made a person aware of the enormous machinery sleeping beneath their feet. The ancient vessel loomed beyond the transparent shield wall, suspended in vacuum like a thought too large to finish. Its surface was a dark metallic blue veined with faint silver lines that pulsed at irregular intervals, as if it were breathing in its sleep and reconsidering whether it wanted to wake up at all. "It's judging us," I murmured. Commander Elyra did not look at me. Her long ears, elegant and sharply tapered, angled backward in irritation. Blue skin, gold hair braided down one shoulder, ceremonial armor shaped to her frame with unsettling precision. She stood like a living emblem of authority. If statues could sigh, they would sound like her. "The vessel does not judge," she said calmly. "It verifies." "That's worse," I replied. "Judging is emotional, verifying is personal." A few of her soldiers shifted behind us, armored boots locking magnetically to the platform. They were tall, all of them, with the same long ears and blue skin in varying shades, though none carried themselves with Elyra's restrained gravity. Their rifles remained lowered, but not by much. I was technically a diplomatic consultant. In practice, I was the only mammal in the room who couldn't trace their ancestry back to something that glowed. The vessel had been discovered drifting beyond the outer orbit of their capital world, dormant and stubborn. According to every archive, it responded only to royal blood. Genetic markers, harmonic signatures, neural resonance. The works. They had paraded nobles through the interface chamber for 3 days. Nothing. No flicker, no polite rejection message, not even a passive-aggressive beep. Now we stood at the final attempt of the cycle. Elyra stepped toward the command dais. The interface was a curved plane of crystalline metal rising from the floor, etched with symbols older than their empire. It reflected her blue skin and gold hair in fractured lines. She placed her palm against it. Silence. The soldiers held their breath in synchronized discipline. I held mine because everyone else did, and peer pressure is universal. Nothing happened. A faint pulse of light crawled across the vessel's hull and died like a shrug. Elyra withdrew her hand with measured grace. If disappointment were a weapon, we would all be dead. "The genetic lock remains sealed," one of the officers announced, though it was obvious. "Perhaps it requires a more ceremonial posture," I suggested helpfully. "Have you tried looking more royal?" Several helmets turned toward me. Elyra's ears tilted forward slowly. "Explain." "You know, chin up, maybe a dramatic speech, ships like drama. Mine certainly does." "You own no vessel." "Exactly, that's how you know it's dramatic." There was a pause in which I seriously considered whether humor translated cross-culturally. Then, to my relief, one soldier made a faint choking sound that might have been a suppressed laugh. Elyra stepped aside from the dais. "You may observe more closely, human." Observe, not touch. That distinction felt important. I approached the interface cautiously. The symbols shifted subtly beneath the surface as if aware of my proximity. The air hummed faintly, charged with dormant power. I could feel it in my teeth. "It doesn't like me," I said. "It does not like or dislike," Elyra corrected. "Sure, that's what it wants you to think." I extended a hand, stopping short of contact. The surface emitted a faint vibration like distant thunder heard through water. My pulse quickened, though I had no idea why. I was not royal. My family tree contained engineers, teachers, and one questionable magician. No emperors. "You are not authorized," a soldier reminded me. "Story of my life." The symbols brightened slightly. I glanced at Elyra. "Hypothetically, if it did respond to me, would you arrest me or just look very disappointed?" Her eyes narrowed. It will not respond to you. Great. No pressure then. I placed my palm against the interface. For one long, excruciating heartbeat, the universe did absolutely nothing. I cleared my throat. See, perfectly norma, light exploded outward. Not violently, not destructively, but with the sudden enthusiasm of a star remembering it had an audience. The symbols beneath my hand ignited in cascading patterns, racing up my arm in harmless projections of shimmering code. The platform trembled. The distant hull of the vessel flared with radiant lines that stitched themselves together in luminous constellations. Behind me, weapons powered up with sharp mechanical clicks. "Stand down," Elyra commanded, though her voice carried a note I had never heard before. Not fear, something closer to awe. The interface pulsed beneath my palm, warm and steady. A deep resonance vibrated through the chamber, harmonizing with something inside my chest. It felt like recognition, though I had done nothing to earn it. User identified. A voice intoned from everywhere and nowhere at once. Ancient. Vast, patient. The soldiers froze. Elyra stepped forward slowly. State designation. The light shifted, forming a spiral of glyphs above the dais. They rearranged into a pattern I could not read but somehow understood. Primary authority confirmed, the voice continued. I blinked. I'm sorry, what? The chamber filled with the low hum of awakening systems. Panels along the walls ignited. Data streams cascaded through the air in translucent arcs. Outside, through the shield wall, the vessel's engines glowed faintly for the first time in centuries. "This is incorrect," one soldier whispered. "That's comforting," I muttered. Elyra stared at the display, her long ears angled sharply forward now, catching every nuance of the ship's tone. The royal genetic signature, display it. A lattice of light formed above the interface, branching strands of code twisting together in elegant helices. Even I could tell it wasn't random. It was precise, intentional. "That's not possible," another officer said. "His species was not present during the founding era." I raised a tentative finger. "In our defense, we misplace eras all the time." No one laughed. The voice spoke again. "Dormant lineage reactivated, protocol restored." "Dormant lineage," I echoed. "I don't even have a gym membership." The dais responded to my voice, shifting slightly under my hand. Symbols rearranged, responding as if I had issued a command. A star map bloomed around us, filling the chamber with a three-dimensional projection of nearby space. I had not meant to do that. Elyra's gaze snapped to me. Not hostile. Calculating. "You did not input a command sequence," she said. "I didn't input anything. I was mostly panicking." The star map zoomed inward, highlighting their capital world, then outward again to reveal distant sectors. Energy readings scrolled along the edges of the projection. "The vessel is synchronizing with him," a soldier said. "That seems excessive," I replied. "We've only just met." Elyra stepped closer to the dais, so near I could see the faint luminescent patterns along her blue skin, subtle markings that traced her collarbone and temple. She extended her hand toward the interface beside mine. The light flickered but did not intensify. "It recognizes you as subordinate authority," the voice informed her. Silence fell heavy. Behind us, a soldier shifted uncertainly. "Commander, protocol requires." "I am aware of protocol," Elyra said quietly. Her eyes lifted to mine. For the first time since we had met, there was no diplomatic distance in her gaze, only raw, searching disbelief. "What are you?" she asked. "I was really hoping you'd tell me." The vessel's hum deepened, systems cascading online in layers. Somewhere within its immense structure, engines recalibrated. Shield arrays tested themselves with faint flashes against vacuum. Elyra withdrew her hand from the interface, but I could not pull mine away. Not because I was restrained. Because the surface seemed to anchor me, not physically but resonantly, as though something ancient and patient had finally found a missing frequency. "You will release the dais," a soldier ordered, raising his weapon slightly. "Trust me," I said. "I am trying." The light around my hand softened. Slowly, carefully, I lifted my palm. The projection did not collapse. Instead, it stabilized. Primary authority remains active, the voice declared. I stared at my hand. It looked exactly the same, 5 fingers mildly trembling. Well, I said weakly, that's new. Elyra exhaled slowly, regaining the composed cadence of a commander. Deactivate command channel. Is that directed at me or the omnipotent relic? At you. Right, of course. I leaned toward the interface. Deactivate. The star map dimmed slightly, then shifted into a standby configuration. That was entirely guesswork, I admitted. The soldiers lowered their weapons, though none relaxed. Elyra circled the dais once, studying the glyphs as they pulsed in calm, steady patterns. The vessel has accepted you as bearer of royal authority. I don't even like crowns, I said. They seem heavy. Her lips twitched before she could stop them. A distant vibration rippled through the chamber. Outside, thrusters adjusted minutely, aligning the vessel's orientation without a single manual input. The fleet will detect this, an officer warned. They will interpret it as a succession event. Succession? I echoed. I just touched something. Elyra faced the shield wall, watching the vast hull glow faintly in orbit. In our history, she said, voice measured, only a sovereign may awaken the vessel. I followed her gaze. The ship seemed less like a relic now and more like a waiting predator stretching after long confinement. Then your history might need a footnote, I said softly. Her long ears angled toward me again, not in irritation this time, but in thought. Behind us, the ancient vessel hummed with quiet satisfaction, as though amused by the sudden rearrangement of destiny. By the time the first external fleet ping reached us, the vessel had already decided it liked rearranging the balance of power. I stood at the central dais again, hands carefully hovering this time, as if the interface might bite. The chamber no longer felt dormant. Light moved through the curved walls in deliberate currents, like thoughts traveling through a mind too large for a skull. Every few seconds a new system chimed online somewhere deep within the hull, each tone different, some low and resonant, others sharp and inquisitive. Elyra stood opposite me, posture perfectly aligned despite the fact that centuries of political certainty had just been overturned by a human who once failed a basic spacecraft piloting exam. The outer fleet has detected the energy surge, she said. 3 houses have already transmitted formal inquiries. Inquiry sounds polite, I replied. It is not. A translucent display unfolded between us without being summoned. The vessel seemed to anticipate our need for context, projecting a tactical map of surrounding space. Distant points of light marked approaching ships, sleek silhouettes bearing the sigils of noble houses. That many? I asked. They were waiting, Elyra said. The vessel's awakening is a declaration. I didn't declare anything. You touched the interface. In my culture, that's called curiosity. A soldier stepped forward, visor retracting to reveal wary blue eyes. Commander, House Surith demands confirmation of your claim. Elyra did not blink. Transmit that the vessel has recognized authority. Specify your authority. The soldier asked carefully. The air seemed to tighten. Elyra glanced at me, long ears tilting in contemplation. Transmit that the vessel has recognized primary authority. The soldier hesitated. Primary, transmit it. He obeyed. I rubbed my temples. Just to clarify, primary means me, right? Not in a symbolic way, in a very literal, possibly assassination-inducing way. Yes, Elyra said calmly. Excellent. Always wanted to diversify my risk portfolio. The vessel pulsed faintly at my proximity, responding to my unease with a soft harmonic vibration. It felt almost reassuring, which was disturbing on several levels. Another projection unfolded, this one a cascade of ancient text and genetic schematics. Spirals of luminous code rotated slowly, aligning segments that pulsed when my biosignature was scanned. I did not authorize that, I said. You did not need to, Elyra replied. It is presenting evidence. Evidence of what? that my ancestors had questionable hobbies. The strands of code highlighted shared markers between my DNA and a long-extinct royal genome archived within the vessel's memory. The overlap was small but precise, like a forgotten chord in a symphony suddenly resonating again. Elyra studied the display with fierce concentration. This sequence predates the founding era. Meaning your lineage intersected with ours before recorded history. I let out a slow breath. So somewhere back there, a human and one of your people decided diplomacy was boring. One of the soldiers made a choking sound that might have been a laugh. Elyra's lips curved almost imperceptibly. Your humor is inappropriate. It's a coping mechanism. The tactical map shifted again. 3 ships from House Surith altered course, forming a triangular approach vector toward us. Their weapon systems began powering up, not fully but enough to signal displeasure. That looks unfriendly, I observed. It is a test, Elyra said. They will attempt to provoke a response. Define response. Submission or demonstration. The vessel hummed and the dais brightened under my hands though I had not touched it. Defensive schematics unfolded. Layered shields capable of bending electromagnetic radiation into harmless arcs. Propulsion systems that folded localized spacetime like fabric being pleated. I don't know how to use any of that, I admitted. You activated it, Elyra reminded me. The vessel responds to your instinct. That's worse. A sharp tone cut through the chamber. An incoming transmission forced itself into the projection field, overriding our tactical display. The image resolved into the stern face of a noble from House Surith, blue skin darker than Elyra's, ears adorned with metallic insignia denoting rank. Commander Elyra, the noble intoned. We detect unauthorized activation of the royal vessel. Elyra straightened. The vessel has recognized authority. Yours. A beat of silence stretched thin. No, she said. The noble's gaze shifted slightly, scanning the chamber until it found me. His expression faltered. That is a human, he said flatly. I am aware, Elyra replied. The noble's eyes narrowed. The vessel is keyed to the sovereign line. So it appears, Elyra said evenly, that the sovereign line extends further than we understood. I offered a small wave. Hello. No one waved back. This is a fabrication, the noble said. Deactivate the vessel and submit for investigation. I leaned toward the projection. We tried deactivating it. It didn't take. Elyra shot me a look. The noble's expression hardened. If you persist in this farce, House Surith will assume regency by force. That seems dramatic, I muttered. The transmission cut abruptly. Outside, the 3 ships accelerated. Elyra turned to me. Now you must demonstrate. I was afraid you'd say that. The vessel pulsed again, projecting firing solutions, shield harmonics, engine vectors. It was like standing inside a living equation. I don't want to destroy them, I said. Then do not, Elyra replied, but you must convince them. How? She stepped closer, her presence steady and unwavering. Trust the vessel. That's your solution. It chose you. That doesn't mean it's sane. The first pulse from House Surith's lead ship struck our outer shield, a probing blast of contained plasma. The impact flared against the vessel's defenses in a ripple of light, dissipating harmlessly. The chamber vibrated faintly. Well, I said, that's rude. Instinctively, I placed my palm on the interface again. The reaction was immediate. Light surged upward, but this time it did not overwhelm. It flowed through me, around me, translating complex systems into something almost intuitive. I could feel the positions of the approaching ships like pressure points in space. I could sense the vessel's options branching outward in probabilities. Primary authority engaged, the ancient voice intoned. I'm improvising, I warned. The vessel responded by adjusting shield frequencies, amplifying them in a focused arc toward the attacking ships. Instead of firing back, it projected a wave of resonant energy, non-lethal, precise. Outside, the 3 ships shuddered as their weapon systems flickered and went dark simultaneously. In the chamber, several soldiers gasped. I did that. I asked. You directed it, Elyra said softly. The tactical display updated. How Surith's ships drifted, powerless but intact. A new transmission request flashed urgently. Accept, Elyra commanded. The noble reappeared, visibly unsettled. You have violated no combat codes, he said slowly. Our systems are disabled but undamaged. That was intentional, I said before I could stop myself. His gaze locked onto me. The vessel obeys you. I'm still processing that part. Silence lingered. Elyra stepped forward. The vessel has chosen its bearer. We will not seek conflict, but neither will we surrender. The noble's ears twitched in calculation. Finally, he inclined his head barely. House Surith will reconsider its position. The transmission ended. The chamber exhaled as one. I removed my hand from the dais, heart pounding. Please tell me that was impressive. It was unprecedented, Elyra said. I'll take that. Another alert chimed, additional fleets adjusting course but not advancing aggressively. They are observing, a soldier reported. Good, I said. Let them observe. Maybe they'll learn something. Elyra regarded me carefully. You did not retaliate. You said demonstrate, not obliterate. Her expression softened slightly. Many in your position would have chosen differently. I'm not in this for a throne, I said. I'm barely qualified for a desk. The vessel's hum deepened, almost content. Elyra's long ears angled toward me again, but this time not in suspicion or shock. There was something else there, curiosity edged with reluctant respect. The balance of power has shifted, she said quietly, because I touched a glowing table, because you chose restraint. Outside, House Surith's ships drifted slowly, systems rebooting under the watchful glow of the awakened vessel. I looked at the ancient interface, its symbols now calm and steady beneath the surface. Just so we're clear, I muttered to it, we're doing this the peaceful way. The vessel responded with a soft harmonic tone that sounded suspiciously like agreement. Behind us, the stars continued their indifferent burn, but within the chamber the air felt different, charged not with fear but with possibility. And for the first time since placing my hand on the dais, I began to suspect that the ship had not made a mistake at all. The fleets did not retreat. They reorganized. By the time the third cycle began, 12 capital ships from 5 noble houses had taken position at measured distances around us, close enough to signal defiance, far enough to avoid provoking another demonstration. Their formation resembled a crown from a distance, sharp, glittering points encircling the awakened vessel. I preferred it when they were just mildly offended, I said, studying the tactical projection. Elyra stood beside me, hands clasped behind her back, posture precise but no longer rigid. The light from the dais traced faint reflections along her blue skin. Her long ears angled forward in concentration, not hostility. They are waiting for weakness, she said. Good luck with that. I am 90% weakness. The vessel pulsed faintly, as if disagreeing. In the days since House Surith's failed aggression, the archives had opened themselves to us in layers. The dormant lineage the ship had referenced was no poetic exaggeration. Buried deep within the genetic memory vaults were records of an ancient alliance, before empire, before houses, when Elyra's ancestors had encountered early human explorers who had crossed an unstable spatial corridor by accident. The corridor had collapsed shortly after contact. The alliance had not. Fragments of shared research, joint settlements, and, most inconveniently for modern politics, interwoven bloodlines had been recorded before catastrophe scattered both civilizations. The royal vessel had been constructed during that era, designed to respond to a specific hybrid resonance signature. The signature no longer existed within Elyra's people alone. It persisted in me, which would have been romantic if it weren't strategically catastrophic. They are requesting conclave, a soldier announced. All houses. That's never ominous, I muttered. Elyra looked at me. You will address them. I blinked. I will what? The vessel chose you. If I speak alone, they will claim manipulation. If you remain silent, they will claim fraud. So my options are political chaos or public humiliation. Yes. Excellent. The central chamber transformed at a thought I did not consciously issue. The walls dissolved into a panoramic projection of surrounding space, and within that void appeared the holographic forms of the noble leaders, tall figures of blue and silver, their long ears adorned with sigils and metallic threads. They arranged themselves in a circular council around us. It felt like standing in the middle of a very judgmental galaxy. Elyra inclined her head slightly, a gesture of respect but not submission. I cleared my throat. Hello again. A murmur rippled through the projections. The matriarch of House Velorin stepped forward, her voice smooth and cold. The vessel's awakening has destabilized succession law. I noticed, I said. You claim ancestral legitimacy, she continued. Produce proof beyond the vessel's compliance. The dais responded before I could panic. Genetic schematics unfolded above us again, but this time they extended further, overlaying my genome with reconstructed sequences from Elyra's royal archive. The intersections pulsed like shared heartbeats. Cross-temporal markers confirmed, the vessel's ancient voice intoned. Hybrid sovereign protocol restored. The council shifted uneasily. House Surith's noble spoke next. Even if this lineage is authentic, the human lacks cultural formation. He cannot comprehend our governance. That's fair, I said quickly. I barely comprehend my own. A few of the projections flickered with suppressed reactions. Elyra stepped forward then. Authority does not require uniformity, she said. Our ancestors forged unity through collaboration. The vessel was built not to exclude, but to prevent tyranny. Her words carried weight. I felt it ripple through the chamber. The matriarch's gaze sharpened. Then why has the vessel not responded to any of us? The answer formed before I could overthink it. Because you stopped listening to it, I said. Silence fell. I continued, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. The archives show that the original sovereign line wasn't about purity. It was about balance. Two species combining different strengths. You turned it into inheritance law. The ship didn't want a ruler. It wanted resonance. Elyra's eyes shifted to me briefly, approving. The vessel hummed in agreement. Outside, one of the encircling ships adjusted its weapons array subtly. The dais flashed a warning through my peripheral awareness. They're preparing a contingency strike, I said quietly. The council projections stiffened. House Velorin's matriarch spoke sharply. Stand down your vessels. They are not mine, I replied. Yet, a flicker of dry amusement passed across Elyra's expression. I placed both hands on the interface. This time the connection did not overwhelm me. It settled like a familiar weight. Heavy, yes, but not crushing. The vessel's consciousness unfolded in layers of probability and response. I could feel the tension in the surrounding fleets like static in vacuum. I am not your emperor, I said aloud, both to the council and to the ships beyond. And I'm not interested in being one. The weapon arrays powering up outside hesitated. I don't want to replace your system. I want to repair what you forgot. The vessel projected archived images into the void around us, ancient scenes of humans and Elyra's ancestors standing together before the construction of the ship. Joint crews, shared command. No hierarchy, only partnership. The sovereign protocol was never singular, the ancient voice echoed. Dual authority required. The council stirred. Elyra stepped beside me and placed her hand on the dais. The light intensified, but differently than before. Not subordinate, complementary. The genetic projections aligned again, this time extending from me to her, forming a complete circuit. Co-regency restored, the vessel declared. A shockwave of understanding moved through the council chamber. You do not replace us, Elyra said clearly. You join us. And I don't plan to sit on a throne, I added. They look uncomfortable. A soft ripple of restrained laughter passed among the projections. Outside, the ship that had been preparing to fire powered down its weapons. The tactical map updated, fleet formations loosening, shifting from encirclement to alignment. How Surith's noble inclined his head fully this time. If the vessel demands dual authority, then we must amend succession law. That's going to require paperwork, isn't it? I asked. Extensive, Elyra confirmed. I sighed. I was afraid of that. The matriarch of House Velorin studied us both for a long moment. And if conflict arises between you, Elyra's long ears angled slightly toward me, then forward again. Then we resolve it as our ancestors did. Through dialogue, I said, and strategic debate, she added, and possibly snacks, I muttered. Her lips curved unmistakably this time. One by one, the council projections dimmed, each noble signaling provisional acceptance. The fleets outside shifted fully into escort formation around the royal vessel, not as captors but as guardians. The tension that had knotted the chamber since the awakening finally unwound. I removed my hands from the dais. The vessel did not cling this time. It did not need to. Elyra regarded me quietly. You have changed. Because I accidentally inherited a spaceship. Because you chose cooperation when power was offered. I considered that. When I had first touched the interface, I had been reacting, confused, defensive, making jokes to mask uncertainty. Now the humor remained, but it no longer hid fear. It balanced responsibility. I didn't want to rule, I said. You do not, she replied. You lead. There was a difference. I felt it settle into place. Outside, the stars shimmered against the hull of the awakened vessel. Engines adjusted. All right, I said softly, resting my hand lightly on the dais without activating it. Let's try doing something extraordinary on purpose. The engines ignited, not in defiance, not in desperation, but in unity. And as the royal blood vessel moved forward, flanked by fleets that no longer sought to challenge it, I realized that power had never been about inheritance. It had been about what you chose to build with it. Elyra stood beside me, steady and luminous against the stars, and for the first time since touching the interface, I no longer felt like an accident in someone else's legend. I felt like part of its next chapter.